Hey everybody, welcome back to Hot Fuss. I'm Hannah.
I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Andy. So we are on location at Main Street Bar and Cabaret. We are going to be celebrating Laguna Beach Pride, which actually hasn't happened in over 24 years. So we're super excited about it. We're going to be interviewing some people and having a lot of fun tonight.
My last Pride experience was actually in San Francisco Pride a couple of years ago. I was in the parade. And it was a lot of fun.
San Francisco has a pride?
He's so funny, isn't he? I had a blast. I got to be in the parade, and there were drag queens, and there were celebrities, and it was amazing.
That does sound amazing.
Well, you know, I actually didn't go to a gay pride until years after I came out. I just wasn't into it. Although my very first, now that I think about it, my very first gay pride experience was when I was 15 years old. When my sister, who I was visiting while I was on vacation from Arizona, because that's where I grew up, she took me while she was working. She had a booth set up for her realty company in San Diego, at San Diego Pride.
Wow.
And she took me just to help her out. And it's funny because I remember seeing all these like bears and all these gay guys just walking the streets, and I was like, what is this? This can't be what like being gay means, because I had no idea, but I never thought it would be that.
Not everybody wore glitter.
Yeah.
And looked pretty.
Right.
It looked like unicorns.
The glitter
like
was...
this unicorn.
Right. It was substituted with hair, and I was like, oh my god, there's a lot of hair here. But it was, well, there were bears.
That's true.
So
There's a lot of bears in San Francisco too. I was actually
What am I doing
surprised
here?
when I didn't know you were into bears.
I'm into that.
Finding something out every day.
well,
So-
cubs would be into bears.
Aww.
Am I cub?
I think you might be a cub.
Yeah, I'm pretty fit.
I don't want to put a label on you.
I don't, yeah, I'm
You're
a
so-
unicorn.
You're a
That
cuddly.
means I don't want to get into your Google search results.
Oh,
No.
my God. Guys, stop it.
Let's leave our little Jeremy alone.
He's
So if
a-
you guys
he's an
actually don't know, Jeremy is our camera crew guy,
Yeah.
and we thought it camera crew, co-producer,
Production assistant.
production assistant,
does a
our
lot.
everything assistant. He like does everything, and we love him so.
Aw, I love you guys more.
No, we love you.
Oh, thanks, Amy.
So our artist of the week is Buck Down, and we have a treat for you guys because we actually down, not down,
Down.
like down. Are you down?
I'm down for Buck Down.
I'm down for Buck
It's hot,
Down.
too.
Anyway, he had a album release party that we got to attend, and we got to interview him. So here's a little bit on that. Hey everybody, I've got Buck Down here with me, and I'm on location at his soon-to-be release party for his new album, All the Way Down. So Buck, we actually have history together. We used to
Full
tour-
disclosure.
Yes, full disclosure.
This is nothing but nepotism.
Totally biased.
Yeah, we were in the Mutator together.
Yes,
for
we were
many
in the
years.
Mutator together. I was on the tail end of it for like 4 years, and it was a ton of fun. Best time of my life.
Mine too. Without a doubt.
Well, of course, because like I was there.
yeah. No, that, actually, it's funny. I was thinking about this today. Like the Mutator was a long run. I think we did 12, 13 years, and you
Yeah.
were there for like the last four.
4.
And the last 4 were actually the funnest. That iteration that you were in, that touring band that got down to about 12 to 15 people, was the one that probably covered the most ground.
Yeah.
We toured the most with that lineup, and I definitely had the most fun on those
Yeah.
last 4 years of tour.
And then after that, you were in Gentleman Callers.
Yes.
And how long was that stint?
Gentlemen Callers of LA ran. So Mutator went till, 2012. Adam and I started Gentlemen Callers of LA, which was more of an electro swing thing, and that was just the two of us. That went up until about this time last year.
When did you start this solo venture?
So the last Gentleman Callers show was probably in July of last year. I think after the Gentleman Callers, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I've been doing this now for about 27 years or so. And the music industry has changed in the last, particularly the last 10 years or so has changed. Once everybody started shifting to things like Spotify and Apple Music, nobody's paying for anything anymore. Or if they're paying anything, they're paying for a subscription model. Because nobody has a CD player anymore. Like, maybe there's still one in your car, but beyond that, like, a CD is now just garbage.
The record players have kind of made a comeback.
Yeah, well, one of the things was, and it's...
And you see it at Urban Outfitters.
Yeah. Well, and also, too, for a while there, before the process of DJing became more of a laptop thing, turntables were outselling guitars. You had a generation of kids, that wanted to be DJs more than they wanted to, say, go play guitar in a punk band.
Right.
So the market of, turntables out there, people making at least DJ grade turntables, flooded. So that kept all the people that made needles and people that actually pressed record plants, although most of them are in like Eastern Bloc Europe, but all that machinery was still around. Other artists realized like, well, you know, my profit margin is crap on a CD or anything like that, but if you make a piece of vinyl, which, you know, depending on how many you do, let's say you do a few hundred, you know, there's really about $7 a pop, you know, to make, and $20 is a completely reasonable price to pay for a piece of vinyl.
And I think people would appreciate it more, your listeners would appreciate it more to know, like, how much work you put into creating this album.
Yeah.
And having it turn into vinyl.
Yeah, I wanted it to be vinyl for a couple of reasons. A, because it's actually, yeah, and B, you know, as somebody who grew up listening to music in the 70s and 80s, like, the album was the medium that it all happened on, and having a nice big 1 foot by 1 foot package, you know, that was, you know, you could hold it and you could turn it, and, you know, the vinyl itself is still like a religious artifact to me. Like, I know how they work, and it's still magic to me, you know? Like, I know how the science to this, and it's still, like, awesome. But I just, like, as I started making this record, I started getting back into collecting records again. Because, again, once you have like an Apple Music account, all the music in the world is yours now anymore. There's no fun to collecting it anymore. Like, there's no...
It's true. I listened to so many different artists, and I couldn't even tell you their names half the time.
It's wonderful
in a way. That one song, I've heard this.
It's wonderful in a way, because it's just like everything in the world, record in the world, you can just have it now. I don't have, there's no I don't even have to get out of bed. And I also think the process is more... you know, we're all about this sort of read-write culture now. Like, it's not like, people are not so much want just passive entertainment. They want to be able to manipulate or make it themselves, or, you know, take other bits and pieces and do it. And I think that there's something about having to get up out of your chair and flip the vinyl. Like, you're physically invested in the process. Like, I think is a more intimate and visceral connection with what you're listening to. I think people don't tend to just put on a record and then go do something else. Like, you kind of put a record on and listen to it it's a little bit more on purpose.
So with the record, with All the Way Down, what is the takeaway that you would want people to have listening to your album? Like, what do you want them to connect to the most? What do you want to evoke?
I think I wanted to, a lot of it is story, you know, you know, each one of them is sort of most of these songs are fairly new. A couple of them I've, you know, kind of just been sitting in my back pocket because they didn't work for a band or at the time that I was in at the time. But what I was definitely looking for was a very direct me-to-listener connection.
Last question for you. What is your favorite song in this album?
The last song on the record, All the Way Down, is a very autobiographical story about leaving the East Coast and coming to the West Coast, and, like, sort of leaving this life I just burnt to the ground. Like, I just ruined everything. I just packed up, like, the car and my dog, my girlfriend, and my best friend, and we got in a car and we basically drove to the West Coast like fugitives.
That sounds like a country song.
It's very American. It was a very American thing to do, which is to just, like, lose your identity, come out to the West Coast. It's what California's for. You know, it's this place where we all just, like, the rest of the country runs to and just starts over. It's a very young place, and I think it's in a very interesting, because, you know, we don't have slavery didn't happen here. You know, like, the history of California has got some dark marks on it, but it's not like the old America. It's the new America, and I think it's a very different place where there's a fine tradition of coming out here and reinventing your life, and that's pretty much what that last song is about, which is why I kind of put it on the end. It sort of frames the whole thing, and then the third song on side one, Trouble, is pretty good.
Hey, you can only pick one.
I know. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I mean. It just depends on what it's for. There are ones that are my favorite because of the way they sound. There are ones that are my favorite because of what it said.
But it sounds like All the Way Down is... Yeah.
Gun to the head, It's like, the funny thing is, that's probably the one I have the most, like, production complaints in my head. Like, when I listen to it, it's like, oh, I wish I'd done that different.
It's also the most personal. It
seems.
And
maybe I'm more critical of it because of that. You know, like, there are some choices. It was also, I think, the last song I did. So I would say that. I mean, it's probably the most defining song on the record.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Thanks for talking about it. And I'm sure we'll put the Bandcamp link to get it.
In the description below.
Yeah, you can go. And here's I'll tag this on, which is, you can pay whatever you want for my record. Not the vinyl one, that one you actually got to pony up for. But the digital version, I've been doing this thing, and Bandcamp, which by the way, if you're an artist out there, if you're a musician, don't get on a label, unless they're giving you a ton of money and then take it. But Bandcamp is the best medium right now for musicians. It allows...
It's been around for a while.
Yeah, it is a stable interface. It is the best deal going. You know, you can set your rates, they take the least amount of money. It is the most artist-friendly environment for releasing music in the history of music.
Right.
So what I chose to do through Bandcamp, and a lot of people have done, which is the pay-what-you-want structure. So if you go to the link down there, and you see, you know, if you want to get the digital version of the record, you name your price. That price can be $0 if you want. You tell me what it's worth to you, and you can have it. I have sold more music and made more money by offering people the choice to pay what they wanted for it than I probably have in any other means. Almost very few people will actually pay $0. And if you need to pay $0, it's digital. It's not like a Keebler elf had to make a cookie there, you know, it's just, you make a billion copies of it.
Cool.
But so yeah, I would recommend if you're a young musician out there or your band, you're trying to get your thing together. Even if you don't have the money to do, you can sell vinyl and stuff through there if you want. But put your stuff out on there. Let people pay what they want. You know, most people will give you at least $6 for it. And you know, in digital world, like I said, that's
a lot.
Yeah. I mean,
in comparison to Spotify.
Yeah.
And...
You know how many spins you would have to get $6 on Spotify? So you can get one person giving you $6 is probably compare that to like thousands of people that would have to listen to it on Spotify. So do yourself a favor and go straight to your fans. You don't need a lot of them, but make those personal connections. That's what we're doing here. I'm having this release in my house. I would rather make deep connections with less people.
Well, thank you so much, Buck.
You're welcome so
I
much.
love you.
I love you too.
His links are down below if you want to click on the description.
And you can check out his new album, All the Way Down.
All the way Buck down.
Oh,
He's still thirsty.
I'm a little thirsty. Why am I
Sorry,
always
Buck.
so thirsty?
he stays dehydrated.
Buck, you're fine. So Laguna Beach Pride is June 1st through the 3rd. I'm super excited about it because Laguna Beach happens to be the first place that I came out, actually, and went to my first club. I went to the Boom Boom Room, which some of you may not know. It closed over 10 years ago. But it was the first time that I actually ever went. I used to drive down PCH back and forth super nervous because I would see gay guys like lined out down the street, and then I would see like these go-go dancers dancing inside, and I was like, ugh, I'm super scared. So I was raised extremely religiously. And so finally I got one of my girlfriends to go with me, and we went inside and we sat at the bar. There was a go-go dancer like right in front of us, and she's like, "Here's $1, like tip him." And I was like, "No!" Like I was just really, really scared. And finally, I put my first $1 bill in the go-go in his G-string, and it was the first penis I ever touched. Yeah,
What a beautiful story.
it was
and the
very,
girls.
yeah.
Can't
It
wait
was
till the movie.
It was a spiritual experience. Right. We do have members of the LGBTQ Heritage and Cultural Committee here today, so we're going to be talking to them and getting their experiences and their stories too.
All right, everybody, we have Craig Cooley with us.
He is the Rainbow Radio DJ personality who is on every Saturday at 9 a.m. And he's actually also on the committee of the LGBTQ Heritage and Culture Committee. So he's one of the people who's actually putting together the Laguna Beach Pride. So a couple of questions. It's been 24 years since there has been a Laguna Beach Pride. What inspired you guys to do it all of a sudden now? What is?
I actually started 2 years ago at a luncheon, and I was running Main Street Bar Cabaret, where we are, and where you work as well.
I work there too. I moonlight
and I met Chris Tibbett, and we were talking about bringing the gay back to Laguna, and it really never left, but it's not has been as strong as it was in the past. So we decided we would create a Heritage and Culture Committee to explore maybe why that's missing and what can be done to facilitate more people to come to Laguna Beach as a destination. Our focus was to try and bring more people into the area for perhaps the summer or special events and to enjoy it. So long story short, 2 years later, we're here with our first Pride Festival in Laguna Beach. That is Laguna Beach in 24 years. We have not had one. So it's fair to say there's been a groundswell of support. in the gay community, and a huge support from the owners of the building with the boom, the Dornans, and a huge support with the city, the Chamber of Commerce, which is Ashley Johnson, and Meredith from the Chamber. All of the city has been so supportive of this, and I think we're becoming like in Long Beach, where the Pride Festival is so involved and ingrained in the city that we're trying to kind of have that same situation happen here.
That's awesome.
We're working on it.
That's very exciting.
And that's actually kind of cool with the political climate right now to have that support.
You know, yeah, because it's kind of waned, and my attitude is it's gay culture 2.0. I think for so long the gay community has been marginalized. I never thought I'd have a gay radio show once a week on KX 93.5, Laguna Beach's only FM radio.
Every Saturday morning at 9 a.m.
and I write for Stu News, a Rainbow Reflections. I don't know if you know that. So it's all about going back into the community, but I call it gay culture 2.0. And the way it's changed is, I think, the larger community has accepted the gay culture so much more into it. Whether it's holding hands when you're walking down the street, or getting married, or just being close to someone that you care about with your arm around them, that has all changed. And so, to some degree, I think the gay community, for I guess some good reasons, I think they pushed the greater community away and tried to have their own space. But I think it's time for the gay community to reciprocate, to include and be inclusive, and I think that's something that hasn't happened, and that's part of the new culture, I say 2.0, where we all share, and that is the power, that is the strength of diversity.
I agree 100%. One of the things that I was thinking about is, because there's also an OC Pride, so why do you think there is a need for a Laguna Beach Pride in separation of an OC Pride?
You know, last year we combined with OC Pride, and we had the final event, and there were certain things that under that umbrella that were a bit limiting, and understandably so. It's no disrespect to OC Pride, but we felt at this point it was time to step in a fashion where we support them with what they're doing, we'll participate in their parade, and they'll support us, and get back to our roots, which was to have our own pride here in Laguna Beach. And I think there is a keen interest in it, because there's kind of a romanticism, I think, of Laguna Beach. For so many years, it's like, oh, it's back and it's Laguna, it's got to be good, So that's kind of what our hope is that is recognized and part of it. I know when we did the one last year, there were so many people that were so happy that it happened. They were crying. They were going, Craig, this is the best thing that's ever happened. And I'm going, I didn't have anything to do with it. But there are people that, that had been there. They said they met there. One couple, I said they met something like 36 years ago.
Wow.
And that's where they met, was at the Boom. And they could point the part of the room where they met. And they were there just to celebrate, that they were still here, essentially.
A lot of people don't know about the Boom Boom Room.
I know. Well, there's a whole generation,
A whole generation of millennials that have no idea what the Boom Boom Room was. I know that you've never been
went
there.
there.
Closed about 10 years ago. I used to work there. I used to DJ there. And it was the very first place that I actually went.
Go on.
As a gay. Well, I had a lot of firsts at the Boom Boom Room, but we'll keep it PG for the case of the episode. I think it's important actually, because Laguna Beach is a mecca. It's a gay mecca in a lot of ways, because it's been a lot of the clubs have been here, and the community has been here for decades.
Oh,
I mean,
there's a huge history. The heritage culture. I mean, it goes back. We had the first openly gay mayor in the nation. We had the first person from Laguna Beach who was gay that ran for president.
Wow.
He didn't win, but he ran.
He still ran.
But he still ran. There's a lot of firsts from Laguna Beach, and when AIDS hit, it was the highest per capita incidence of HIV in the nation was right here. So there was a profound support to try and counter that horrible thing that went on. But back to your point about a lot of people that don't know what the Boom is, and I think we're not trying to resurrect it per se. We're trying to let the people that have enjoyed it for many years enjoy it some more, and to bring on a new genre, a new kind of understanding of how the gay community has evolved.
Right.
And so what we did across the street, we're tenting it, and we're having all kinds of entertainers starting at noon until 8 o'clock open. Everyone's welcome. You can bring your families, your kids. There's alcohol served. You have to be 21 to purchase, certainly, but it's very inclusive. The Laguna Beach Police Department's going to be there with their own tent, soliciting officers to join their forces. And I think that's phenomenal.
Yes.
You know, that would have never happened 20 years
Very
ago.
progressive. It's a very progressive step.
Thank you. So we're really, really proud of that part of it.
Right.
They asked us. We didn't solicit them. They asked us. Joe Torres, he's the liaison for the police department, and he is a wonderful man. Looks good with his holster and his uniform.
There's a couple hot cops. I wouldn't mind getting
Larry
pulled
Bammer,
over.
and
I won't name any
is going to be
names,
one of the
but,
officers on duty that
Don't
afternoon,
jinx
and,
yourself.
and he's no secret about where he's at with his him and his husband.
Right.
And Larry's on duty, and we have to have so many officers for the event. So we've had some police officers like, oh, can we be on? Can we do it? We want to do it. Part of it. I think, wow, how cool is that?
Yeah, that's
That's
awesome.
awesome.
There is such a community here, and I'm very, very excited about it. June 1st through the 3rd. So,
That's it.
is there a website that people can visit?
Well, we're everywhere, but it's just LagunaBeachPride.org. You got it. It's easy.
Perfect.
And for
Yeah.
convenience, we'll also have it down in the description
Right
below.
below.
If you want to volunteer, you can volunteer to help out at the Pride, and go to that website, and there's a volunteer page. Which
You'll get free admission.
Free
if
admission
you
and 2 beverages.
volunteer And
That's
2
a good deal.
beverages. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Craig.
No, I want to
Thank
thank
you.
you, Andy.
We really
and
do
I wanna
appreciate your time. All right.
Love,
Thanks, guys.
enjoy Pride.
Now we've got Luis Silva with us. So Luis, tell us about your favorite Pride experience.
Well, honestly, I've been only to 2 prides my whole 29 years in this world. But I would say the craziest and best experience I had was 2 years ago. I was in Brazil and Sao Paulo, and it was 4 million people on the streets.
4 million.
4 million.
Oh my God.
It was insane. The energy was just amazing. It was such a crazy experience. That's actually where I am from. I'm from Brazil also. So.
And
being
what's
from
it
the-
like being from Brazil, you know, and being gay? What is that experience?
That's what brings the whole experience to a
you're
different
gay?
level. Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Well, you know. So that's what brings the experience to a whole different level. Because unfortunately nowadays, still a huge stigma being gay in Brazil.
Right.
And it is a challenge. You see a lot of people being abused and beat up on the streets, which is insane. And just being on the streets and seeing 4 million people, the same cause all together,
Supporting.
straight families with kids, and all colorful, with their faces painted, it was amazing. It was genuinely one of the best experiences I ever had. Just remembering it gives me
you
chills because
goosebumps?
it
It
is
magical.
really
It
nice.
does.
Yeah,
It
it is
does.
really nice seeing the whole country all together for the same cause.
That's got to feel really good to have the entire community in Brazil just backing it up despite what you guys have to go through or what the gay community has to go through.
Yeah, especially
there.
being a country where skins are
not-
out, there's
yeah.
so much skin show.
That's
and,
true.
And
For women,
naked women,
yeah.
and a lot of people out of the country, they don't understand what happens because
Yeah.
they think we're so open-minded. But
Right.
it's just so sad that it's a country that see homosexuality in a very negative way. I have so many friends in their 30s and 40s, and they're still in the closet,
Wow.
live in a big city, and they just have a hard time facing it. So seeing a country putting all that strength together to come clear and say that it's okay, being different is normal, and
Right.
it's not being different, it's just being who you
Being
are.
yourself.
Yes, it's being
Yeah.
who you are. So that was huge.
So with the Laguna Beach Pride coming up, are you going to be attending?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll be on the VIP lounge. I'll be hosting and helping, and I'll be there if you guys want to come over, and I hope you do. Come see us. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Can you tell us like what events are going to be going down for the Pride? Like where they're going to be at,
We're going to have
locations?
the balloon room back. We're super excited. We're going to have Main Street also is going to be packed. We're super excited. It's going to be all over the place. I really hope we get all the community to be like all here together, especially everyone from Orange County. We've been going around. We went to Long Beach last weekend. I hope we see everybody from Long Beach also coming down to support us because we need as many people as possible
Yeah.
just to show that we are united.
And I think Orange County is going to come through.
I really hope so.
We will be there for sure.
I hope to see you there.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you guys soon.
So we are here with my good friend Jonathan Alaman. He is a professional DJ and will be DJing for Laguna Beach Pride, actually. Where at, if you don't mind?
I'm actually going to be DJing the Pavilion Festival, so it's going to be from 12 to 8. It's going to be out of the pavilion, right outside here, actually. So we're going to have a drag show, we're going to have live music, we're going to have vendors, and people are going to be selling food, so we're going to have like taco trucks, stuff like that. So if you guys get hungry.
And what day specifically is this?
That's going to be on June 2nd.
June 2nd.
Looking super forward to it.
She loves food, so
I love food.
she's gonna be there.
I will be there.
I hope so. I mean, we're going to have food, so I mean, who doesn't like food?
Crazy people.
Oh my God.
So Jonathan, tell us about your favorite Pride experience.
My favorite Pride experience, well, it's kind of hard to pick one because they're all so fabulous, and I just enjoy the fact that we have a sense of community where everybody gets together and we all support each other. It doesn't matter if you're gay, it doesn't matter if you're straight. You just come there and you support people because, you know, love is love.
Love is love.
Oh my God. Well, I'm hopefully gonna like be there because this will actually be my first Pride experience. I've never actually done Pride, so I look forward to like seeing.
You're hoping, or you
Well,
are?
like I'm a
As long as he doesn't get sick,
Well, what I want to know is where Hannah's going to be at.
I will be there.
Oh, Hannah's
I
going to
will
be there. Jeremy, where?
I will be right at the DJ booth going
Yeah,
crazy.
I want two hands, not one hand. Little fist pumping.
Well, you know me. Wherever there's music, I'll be dancing.
Oh, well, I know you. Wherever there's drag, Jeremy follows.
Oh,
They don't know this yet.
he knows you. All right, well, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
So we have Hans Ewert here. Hi. And how long have you been a Laguna Beach resident?
Since 2003, so like 15 years, yeah.
That's a long time.
Some time.
So what are you going to be doing for this coming Pride? Are you going to be in the area? Are you going to be coming to the events?
Definitely gonna hit the Boom Boom Room and then support Main Street like I always do, and also go to the beach for sure, Main Street Beach.
Is West Beach going to be popping like all weekends? Like
It usually is from Memorial Day on, you know, all year, all summer long, yeah. So I'm sure it'll be a good time down there too.
And so Hans, tell us your favorite Pride experience.
Favorite Pride experience? Favorite? That's a really big question. It's probably my first Pride, which was in Salt Lake City, Utah, which is where I'm from, and not all of my family knew at the time. And I was in a Wizard of Oz parade down Capitol Hill, and I was on the news, and that's how a lot of my family found out. So it was a nice way to sort of break those
Well,
closet
going
doors off.
out with a bang.
seriously,
Really.
entering
That's
Emerald
awesome.
City with a bang.
All right, well, thank you so much for sharing your experience.
Laguna
with
Beach
us.
Pride's gonna be amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm super excited because I actually just came back from Long Beach Pride. It was so much fun. I saw so much diversity.
And he didn't invite me.
One thing I was really shocked and actually surprised about was that there was a lot of families there, like little kids.
awesome.
Straight families, gay families.
That's what I love to
everything.
hear. I love to
It
hear
was
that because it is
so
2018.
cool.
It
Oh
should
my
be
God.
more of a family-oriented, like everybody's
really should.
welcome
Right.
and can
Yeah.
attend.
It was so great, and there was a lot of gay dogs out there too. So cute in their little gay outfits. There should be a little gay dog pride.
Gay dog pride.
Talk to Lisa.
One of my dogs was a lesbian for sure. I'm 100% positive about it.
I believe you.
Yeah. So it was a lot of fun, but Pride in general is something that I was never too excited about until recently, and it's because it means something different to me. I know a lot of people go to Pride just to like get drunk and have fun and dance and everything, but it just shows that we've come such a long way where we can actually express ourselves and be free and just, that's what I felt actually. When I was outside, outdoors, watching the parade and being amongst all of these people and family and community, I felt freedom. And it felt so just good. I was like, we can just be a part of everything. It wasn't necessarily about being gay. It was just about being human and
In
free.
community.
In community. It felt great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I have yet to have my own Pride experience.
You will at the OC
Hopefully,
Pride.
fingers
Right.
crossed.
Well, someone had to get strep throat during Long Beach Pride, so.
Hannah.
No, it was not me. All right, you guys, we had so much fun wrapping up this episode. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Hannah.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Jeremy.
Bye.
Until next time, peace, happy Pride.